So for any new subscribers or people that have watched this from your recommended, my name is Dakota Jones. I'm a cinematographer and photographer, and I make cinematic videos and kind of like adventure and travel videos on this channel. I'm going to talk about the specs and why I'm switching to Sony after I've been a Canon user for a couple years now, and I love Canon, but this is why I'm switching to Sony. First of all, the overheating problem in the R5 and the R6. That's literally a deal breaker. Okay, bye. Yeah, the overheating is literally a huge problem. Like in 8K or something, which you, by the way, you'll probably never use unless if you have like a really fast, I feel like a really fast laptop or PC, but you probably will never use 8K unless if you're like making movies or something, but you're not going to make a movie on an R5. You're probably going to do it on like a cinema camera, like the C300 or something, I don't know. But yeah, you're not going to be making movies off the R5. It's more of like I feel like Canon is more leaning towards even photographers because it's a 45 megapixel camera. If you're more of a photographer, then I guess you can lean towards the R5. But if you're more of like a filmmaker or like a video guy, then the Sony is a lot better in my opinion. I heard that in 8K it overheats like in 10 to 15 minutes, and like literally you can only have 10 to 15 minutes of shooting in 8K and it's already overheating. And in 4K it's like it overheats in like pretty quickly, like in 30 minutes. And the it has recording limits too. I think it's like 30 minutes or something. And while the Sony a7 III, it has no recording limits and it does not overheat. So that's literally like right there is a deal breaker. If I'm like shooting in the hot sun all day and say like you really want to like say you're making a video for someone like a wedding, like the people go for a kiss and it just overheats. Like that would be literally like the worst thing ever. So you'll miss that. And while the Sony does not overheat, talking about 8K versus 4K, it's not really necessary, and we're still trying to work on 4K. Like not everyone shoots in 4K yet. Like 4K is not even the standard yet for YouTube, or like it's actually the standard more for like video freelancers, but for YouTube right now it's not really the standard. 1080p is like the standard right now. So let's talk about the specs. So both do 4K 120 FPS, um, and that's like literally insane. The Sony does 10-bit 422 internally, and it also does 16-bit RAW. Like what the heck? 16-bit RAW. So that's literally insane. Talking about megapixels, the Canon R5 does 45 megapixels, while the Sony a7S III does only 12 megapixels. But like you do not really have to worry about that unless if you're gonna like blow up an image or like print it out or something. When you have less megapixels means it's better in low light, because like the less megapixels the more light comes in, and the more megapixels like the less the light comes in. So the Sony a7S III is literally insane in low light. Like I've seen reviews and stuff. I mean, yeah, I've seen reviews and video tests, and even at like 25,000 ISO, the Sony a7 III is still like isn't that grainy at 25,000 ISO. My camera, it starts to get grainy at like 1600, 3200 ISO because I have the Canon SL2, and it starts to get grainy at like, yeah, like 1600, 3200 ISO, while the Sony a7S III, like 16,000, 25,000, it's still looks pretty decent. And while the Canon R5, it starts to get grainy at like 6400 ISO, which is pretty much normal for a full frame camera, but like Sony's ahead of the game right now because they actually offered less megapixels, which then it's obviously leaning towards a video camera than a photography camera. The only reason why I'd say you go for the Canon R5 is because it's more of a it's like both video and photo, but the Sony a7S III still takes really good pictures, It's still a full frame camera. If you're posting on Instagram or stuff, you're not gonna really notice because it already like turns down the quality, but it's still gonna look really good. And you probably can't even tell the difference between the R5 and the Sony a7S III when you're taking pictures on Instagram. So if you have like a really good lens, it's gonna look fine. Sony a7S III also does 1080p at 240 FPS, which is really nice if you want to get those like buttery smooth, slow, like say like water or like someone splashing water or something, like something really cool. Um, I wouldn't really use it that much, but I honestly I'd probably use 4K, 120, 60, and 24 FPS pretty much. That's probably what I use the most. And it has a dual card slot. It uses CF Express cards and SD cards. You could actually do SD cards for 4K 120 FPS, which is insane because you don't have to spend that much money on a CF Express card, which CF Express cards are really expensive. Um, which I mean, I guess for like full-time videographers, I guess it's easy to invest in that, but for me, it's pretty expensive. The Sony a7S III, high bitrate of 600 megabits per second, which is insane, which is literally insane. Rolling shutter on the Sony a7S III, it was greatly improved. It's pretty much not noticeable anymore compared to the Sony Alpha like A6400 and stuff. Like the rolling shutter was pretty bad on those. So guys, that was it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Um, this was like the highlights of it. The highlight. I could talk about this literally all day, but that's like the highlights of the two cameras. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe if you haven't yet. YouTube says 50% of you that are subscribed watch my videos, so please hit the subscribe button. That'll be greatly appreciated. And like this video and comment down below what other videos you want me to make, and I will respond to every single one as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and